Over $2 billion is reshaping Minneapolis right now. While a lot of people are still focused on buying in the same suburbs they've always known, the entire Twin Cities metro is changing fast. I'm talking about major mixed-use projects, billion-dollar infrastructure investments, and new job hubs that are creating whole new neighborhoods. After helping hundreds of families deal with this market and watching these projects take shape up close, here's what you need to know about how Minneapolis is changing for good. All right, so let me tell you something most people don't realize. The biggest change Minneapolis has ever seen is already happening. And you know what? Most buyers have no idea what's coming. You know that old Kmart everyone drives past and never gives a second thought to? Yeah. That one, that spot is about to turn into the center of the biggest real estate shift this city has seen in decades. That 10-acre Kmart site at Lake Street and Nicollet Avenue is one of the most important urban infill opportunities Minneapolis has had in a long time. And this isn't some small apartment deal either. After 3 years of community input with over 20,000 conversations, the city released the first phase request in October 2025. Proposals were due January 6, 2026, so decisions are being made right now. Phase 1 focuses on the southeast corner of the site. We're talking housing, ground floor shops, nonprofit services, and indoor space for the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. But here's where it really hits. We're looking at roughly 500 to 600 homes spread across 5 buildings. Add in a 20,000 to 30,000 square foot grocery store and new for sale townhomes on top of that. Now let's talk about timing, because this matters. Funding and financing are expected to take about 3 to 5 years. Then you've got an 18-month build process. That means you're gonna see real movement on this site as the late 2020s roll in, and the area around it is gonna look very different sooner than people expect. And just wait for the community investments tied to this project that I'll get into later. Some of the tech being used hasn't even been tried around here before, so stay with me. Now, these smaller transit-focused projects are popping up all over Minneapolis right now. You see it most in Northeast Minneapolis and the first ring neighborhoods, where things are changing faster than people realize. And that's where investment is stacking up. Small commercial spaces on the ground level with homes above them, all tied in to daily life. A lot of this is backed by Hennepin County's transit-oriented communities program, which puts money behind walkable projects near strong transit lines. And when development lines up with transit like this, property values usually don't lag far behind. These city projects also set the stage for something bigger. They help explain how suburban job centers are reshaping the entire metro economy. But before we keep going, quick heads up. If you're looking at the Minneapolis market, the projects I'm talking about create timing opportunities that a lot of buyers miss. I help people understand how things like new roads, transit, and development impact home values across the Twin Cities every day. My contact information is down in the description. Now let's keep going and talk about those suburban job hubs. There are a couple of major projects happening right now that are changing entire suburban areas, and they're already putting pressure on prices, even if most buyers don't see it yet. Let's start with what's going on in Maple Grove, because this one is a big deal. Boston Scientific just made a move that changes the picture for the northwest suburbs. In October 2025, Boston Scientific opened a $170 million, 400,000 square foot Minnesota Science and Technology Center. It brought in over 1,500 employees from their cardiovascular division. And they're not done. In January 2026, they propose another expansion in the Arbor Lakes area. This one adds about 300,000 square feet across 4 stories. Here's what that includes. About 250,000 square feet of office space, 11,000 square feet of lab space, another 9,000 set aside for future labs, plus close to 27,000 square feet for things like training rooms, a cafeteria, and a fitness center. Over the last 15 years, Boston Scientific has doubled its Minnesota workforce to more than 10,000 employees. Maple Grove is now the main hub. At the same time, they're shutting down their old Minnetonka campus, which was sold in June 2025 to focus operations in Maple Grove and Arden Hills. And the airport expansion is a big piece of this, which I'll break down in a bit. The size of that investment helps explain why this whole region is gearing up for long-term growth. Now on the real estate side, Maple Grove is already seeing single-family homes in the high 400s to mid 500,000s near Arbor Lakes. This expansion only adds more demand to an area that was already competitive. Now let's talk about Plymouth, because this project is reshaping that area differently. The Boulevard development sits on a 75-acre former Prudential corporate campus, and it's the largest suburban mixed-use redevelopment in Minnesota. Rowe's companies and Scandal Properties are leading a transformation with more than $300 million in investment. The scale here is huge. There will be 832 housing units across 4 buildings. Phase 1 includes 207 units and broke ground in October 2025. On top of housing, there's about 80,000 square feet of medical space, 200,000 square feet for medtech, and retail anchored by a grocery store. They're also adding 13 acres of park space, a waterfront plaza, and trail connections. Plus, the city of Plymouth approved $25.35 million in tax increment financing spread over 26 years, with most of it going towards infrastructure. Summit Orthopedics opened a clinic and surgery center there in October 2025 as the first tenant. Coburn's is set to open its store by this year. When you connect these dots, you start to see the pattern. Buyers who understand timing recognize what these projects mean before everyone else catches on. And these employment hubs don't exist in a bubble. They work because of the major transportation investments tying everything together, which is what we're getting into next. Okay, so there's a ton happening behind the scenes right now, and it's a big reason everything else you're seeing actually works. There's about $6.15 billion going into infrastructure through 2029, and this is what's building the backbone for the whole region. The airport expansion is just one piece of it. The transportation projects across the Twin Cities are much bigger than most people realize. Take Cedar Avenue in South Minneapolis. Hennepin County is planning a full rebuild between Lake Street and 42nd Street. That means the road gets completely redone with better sidewalks, bike lanes, green stormwater features, and updated ADA ramps. That project runs from spring 2026 through fall 2029. But one of the biggest shifts is happening with transit. The Metro G-Line Bus Rapid Transit project just got approved in March 2025. It runs along the Rice Street and Robert Street corridor. Phase 1 runs from 2026 to 2027, connecting the Little Canada Transit Station to downtown St. Paul. You'll see upgraded bus stops built alongside other street projects in Ramsey County and St. Paul. Phase 2 kicks in by 2028 and extends the line down to the Dakota County Northern Service Center in West St. Paul. The G line joins the A, C, and D lines that are already running. The E line is under construction and the F line is planned for 2028. Together, this is turning into a real rapid transit network. There's also progress on the Metro Blue Line extension, also known as the Boatneau Light Rail. The route now follows County Road 81 through Robbinsdale, Christdale, and Brooklyn Park. When it's done, it'll add 13.4 miles from Target Field all the way to Brooklyn Park. The road had to be redesigned after pushbacks from the railroad, but planning is moving forward with local reviews underway. All of this matters because it's what makes mixed-use projects across the metro work. People can live, work, and get around without everything feeling disconnected. And this ties right into the airport investment. Minneapolis-St. Paul is in the middle of a $1.9 billion improvement program through 2028, setting the airport up for about 50% passenger growth by 2040. Concourse G is getting a $305 million expansion, adding 157,000 square feet between gates G8 and G13. That boasts gate seating by 52%. Terminal 2 is also expanding north with a $263 million project that adds 168,000 square feet and new gates, with completion expected in early 2027. And across the state, airports are looking at $6.15 billion in infrastructure spending from 2025 to 2029. That supports about 166,000 jobs and drives roughly $33.5 billion in economic output. This transportation network is what makes all these developments possible, and it's a huge reason the metro keeps growing the way it does. Now, some of the most interesting growth right now isn't happening right in Minneapolis. It's popping up just outside of the city, and a few of these projects are doing things Minnesota hasn't done before. Let me start with one that really stands out. On the east side of St. Paul, there are 112 acres of an old golf course that's being completely reworked into a brand new community. It's called The Heights, and it's going on the former Hillcrest Golf Course site. This project is turning that land into Minnesota's first district powered by geothermal energy. That's a big deal. We're talking over 1,000 housing units, from developers like Sherman Associates, JO Companies, and Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity. On top of that, there's about 1 million square feet of light industrial space aimed at jobs that actually pay a living wage. They're also building 20 acres of park and trail, and the geothermal system is being run by Evergreen Energy. Infrastructure work is wrapping up around Q3, and the first homes started coming online in late 2025. Now, over another part of St. Paul, Highland Bridge has a very different story. This is the old four-plant site, about 122 acres. Development paused back in 2022 because of rent control issues, but Ryan Companies is back at it now. So far, about 1,040 housing units are either done or under construction, which is roughly 30% of the full plan. They're also starting a new 97-unit apartment building with 8,500 square feet of retail expected to finish in fall 2026. Now, here's one that sounds small, but actually says a lot. Edina is looking at a $20 million pedestrian underpass near Southdale. The goal is to better connect the area between Gallagher Drive and West 72nd Street to Centennial Lakes Park. It's still in the design and cost phase, with funding likely coming from grants and nearby property taxes, but projects like this show how serious these suburbs are about walkability and connectivity. Transit plays a big role in all of this too. The Metro Green Line expansion, set to open in 2027, is already shaping growth around Shady Oak Station in Minnetonka and Hopkins. There's a new 17th Avenue South extension that links downtown Hopkins to the station area. Trail upgrades along the Minnesota River bluffs are part of it too, including light art installation. Altogether, this is about 100 acres that could turn into a whole new downtown style area over the next 20 years. Track work is about 80% done as of early 2026, with station construction continuing throughout the year. Bloomington's making a big move as well. They're building a $101.8 million community center on Penn Avenue South. It's about 106,000 square feet and paid for by a voter-approved sales tax. The plan includes a pool, full basketball courts, fitness areas, an indoor track, multi-use rooms, public health offices, and parks and rec space. Construction's already underway with an expected opening in fall of 2027. And then there's Plymouth again. The $25 million Station 73 project is rebuilding the Highway 55 and County Road 73 interchange to make commuting smoother. That includes a pedestrian underpass, 2 roundabouts, and upgrades to the Station 73 park and ride. Highway 55 will be closed for part of 2025 to make it happen. That old red roof Insight nearby is also getting a new life. It's turned into a park and ride with all-day Metro Transit service to downtown Minneapolis, plus a tunnel under Highway 55 for the Eagle Lake Regional Trail. When you step back and look at all of this together, you start to see the pattern. There's over $2 billion in active development across the Metro right now. This is changing where people want to live and work. Boston Scientific alone is adding more than 1,500 high-paying med tech jobs. The Heights and Highland Bridge together are aiming for over 2,000 living wage positions. On top of that, more than $700 million in public infrastructure spending is planned through 2028. This is why timing matters so much here. Buyers who pay attention early see these shifts coming. By the time everyone else catches on, those opportunity windows usually close fast. This $2 billion shift is happening right now. While a lot of buyers are still looking at last year's market, whether you get ahead of it or end up chasing it comes down to understanding these projects before they're obvious to everyone else. If you want to talk through how these specific developments affect your timing, your budget, and where you should be looking, shoot me an email today. And make sure you watch the video I've linked about the 7 things you need to know before moving to Minneapolis, especially the part about property taxes. That one detail alone can save you thousands every single year. Thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one.